as I noted, we're talking to 30 or 40 brands a week, helping them out with digital strategy. And something that's come up over and over again is this idea around personalization, and personalization around an anonymous user, which is a really, really unique way of looking at it. And so, as we think about what's happened in 2020 with COVID, in this, all of a sudden, hey, Amazon can't be my only strategy. Needs to be part of it, but I also have this whole D2C arm, and how am I looking at my customers as a whole? How am I looking at them from a personalization standpoint? But also, what about the anonymous user that's showing up over and over again? So we've got some great friends, partners of the network at PiSrc, also over at Adobe. Just been great friends and partners for a while now, and so. I'm gonna kick off the conversation today with Inku. If you want to give a brief background, introduction on yourself, background on the company, that'd be awesome. And then we can start to jump into some of the meat of it. Inku, I'll kick it over to you.
Okay, thanks so much. Really want to thank BWG for organizing this, and really proud to bring this talk to you. Personalization for anonymous users with interactive website questionnaires. Closely working with Adobe in bringing this together. And so thank you so much for coming. My name is Koo Kim. I am the managing partner at PiSrc. And I will, before diving in, I just want to talk really briefly about Adobe and about PiSrc. So Adobe is the leader in experience-driven marketing solutions. They're, you've seen the Gartner Magic Quadrant plots there in the upper right-hand corner for multi-channel marketing hubs. And we've been working with Adobe for years, and really think that their Experience Cloud products, the content management, analytics, marketing automation, it's really the it's really the leader. And so a lot of our work revolves around the Adobe ecosystem. And that's one of the reasons why we wanted to bring this talk today, around personalization, because I think personalization, and especially for anonymous users, is something that I know a lot of the digital marketers on today's call are interested in. A little bit about PiSrc. We're a privately held firm. We're located in New York City. We have certified Adobe experts in the Experience Cloud. Something different about us, I think we think about the holistic solution, really everything from analytics and content management to marketing automation and targeting. And so we do the whole thing. We focus on a number of different verticals. One is finance, other is manufacturing and retail. But we've also worked with nonprofits in the past as well. And so we have a broad client base. And I think our differentiator is really that we like to focus on nimble, tech-forward approaches to problems rather than large programs. So I think that in this very hands-on engagements, that we're able to do more with less and work on more interesting problems. Another differentiator is that we do quite a bit of work in applied AI. So we always hear about AI, but I have very few organizations actually do AI. And so applied AI is something that we talk about a lot, because we think that data science, machine and deep learning, and statistics is going to be is going to be the competitive advantage for organizations moving forward. So this is our agenda. We're going to talk about the visitor, about traffic patterns, and ultimately we want to really dive into the questionnaire. And because questionnaire, I think, answers a lot of the questions and problems that we want to bring up. Okay. So to start with, the problem that we're here to solve is really to answer who is the visitor. So, I think over the past 5 years or so years, customer experience really is creating experience-driven customer interactions is really been the thing that most digital marketers are trying to accomplish. Because thinking about, every business wants to have a conversion. They want to create a transaction. They want to get more customers. But experience-driven businesses is really about thinking about those things, those pluses as a result, as an effect of positive customer interactions. And it's been proven that experience-driven businesses, they increase customer satisfaction, they improve our product ratings, and they also promote brand loyalty. So this is very important. From a website perspective, personalization is the key, right? If you want to deliver optimal digital experiences, personalizing it for individuals rather than making it www.site.com to make it mysite.com, right? It's a whole different level of engagement. And I think that's what we're trying to do as marketers. But the major marketing challenge is really understanding who the visitor is. And so, one thing we want to know is, who is this visitor? Who are they? It makes a very big difference. If I'm hosting a website, about a hospital website, and the visitor is a physician, then it's going to be one kind of experience we want to try to promote. If they are a patient, then it's a completely different thing. They might be more interested in finding a doctor. And so who the individual is probably one of the most paramount questions that we want to answer. Why did they come to the website, right? Did they come to the website for information? Are they trying to look up the specs on the product? Why they came to the website should be have a huge impact on how their experiences are presented. What does the visitor know about our products and services? So every visitor is unique, right? They all have their needs. They all have their unique situation. They all came to the website for a certain reason. But if we overlap the visitor needs and with what our products and services are, then that intersection is really the zone of opportunity that we need to be thinking about. So, what they know about our products and services is going to be hugely important in delivering a great experience. And finally, how can we make most of this interaction? The website visits, they're chances, right? They're interactions that can lead to sales. They can lead to a new customer relationships. They can drive conversion and create a social media buzz. So it's very important, and every user is different. And so depending who they are, what they know, and why they came to the website, it's going to be an opportunity for us to do something with that information. And so that's what we're here to talk about, and that's the problem that we're trying to solve. Let's think about a website. Okay, people are coming to our website, and where are they coming from? If we take out the bots and the crawlers and our internal users from the website, what we have is we have known users. These are users that maybe they've logged in before, right? We know everything about them, or the customers who we emailed, or they clicked on a certain link that was part of an invitation. And so we know who these users are. Another set of users are return visitors. So these are visitors for some reason. They've been to our website before and they came back again. Maybe they had a great experience and they want to learn more, or for one reason or another, they came back. We also have users coming from social media. So social media has been huge, but it's definitely one of the sources of website traffic. And beyond that, we have other channels, right? We have other websites, we have newsletters, blogs, we have other marketing channels that drive people to our website. But look at the rest, right? The rest of the website traffic is actually from search, and it's really important, because between paid and organic search, they form a huge fraction of our inbound website traffic. I want to show you this this statistic. This company, Bright Edge Research, I found this on the internet, and they have these statistics. I found it so fascinating because you know, if you look at this plot here, this graph and the chart, on average, 53% of our website traffic comes from organic search. That's huge. I had no idea it was that much. And you know, paid search visits are 15%. And I mean, depending on the vertical, if you're B2B, organic search accounts for 64%. So search is huge. And the reason why this is relevant to us is because there's something unique about search visitors. And that's that most of the search visitors are unknown, right? They Googled something and they came to our website, and many of them are first-time visitors. We don't have any information about who they are. No cookies. They didn't click on some special link, so there's no parameters there, no campaign IDs, no segment profiles. And so, and finally, the search terms, they're not forwarded either. I don't know if you remember, but back in 2013, you know, Google used to forward that the search terms with the referrer information, so we knew why they came to the website, and that allowed us to sort of create experiences around that. But that information is gone too. There's some security concerns and HTTPS and whatnot, but you know, that information is not given to us. So on the whole, the organic search visitors are largely unknown. And so this is the challenge, really. You know, how do you personalize when you don't know anything about the user? So let's start with what we do know, okay? So one thing is we know their IP address. We know the header information. From this, we can gather a number of different things. We know what location they're in. We know maybe if we have some database, IP location database, we know what company they're from. We know what language they speak, okay? So some information, point information there. If they happen to have come to the website through a link or an ad or some social media post, you know, that link might have had some parameters in there, a UTM campaign code, a tag. And so, and possibly we know we have some segment information, right? Some source information at least. If, you know, if we happen to have cookies, obviously cookies is huge. You know, if they've done anything on the website, or if they've added something to the shopping cart, you know, cookies is probably the most utilized personalization vector on websites. And so cookies are huge. So that's one piece of information. And more, I'm hearing digital marketers using DMPs, which is great. It's a great way to get segments and profiles and search histories about various users. But you know, depending on what industry, what vertical you're in, it's going to be kind of tricky. I mean, and we're talking about, especially with the use of third-party data. You know, with privacy concerns, GDPR, CCPA, these regulations, it might be that we don't have the ability to use DMPs in the way that they're most useful, right? You know, basically this is, I think this is something that the industry is working to solve, but I don't know. I think in certain industries you just can't use them. So correct me if I'm wrong, but DMPs is definitely a source of information, but you know, it's not a cure-all for our problems here. And so with all this information, what we're trying to do is generate segments, right? And that's what all this is usually used for. We have certain models about, you know, depending on what cookies they are, what campaigns that they clicked on. We're trying to gather certain broad demographics about users. And some of the DMPs, they talk a lot about psychographics as well. And so that's kind of, I don't know what that means exactly, but that's a part of that cell as well. But ultimately, does this information give us the answers to the questions that we have? Who are they? Who is this visitor? Except for the case of like a known user who is logged in, I don't think we really know who they are. Why did they come to the website? Maybe we might have some idea about who they are based on something they might have clicked on, but largely we don't know too much about that either. What do they know about our products and services? Most analytics is based on impressions, right? I mean, you see something and there's an impression. Impression is not the same thing as knowledge. And so when we talk about what the visitor knows, we don't know, right? We really have no idea. We have inkling, we have ideas, but we don't really know. And so that's the problem. And how can we make the most of this interaction? We do so much to use the little information that we have here to try to drive personalized experiences for anonymous users, but ultimately the problem is extremely hard, because even in the most optimistic scenario, right, where we're able to leverage some of this information to create profiles about users and their interests, it only affects less than half your incoming visitors. And so what do we do with the other half? And so this is the problem, I think.
Yeah, and really quick, I want to jump in. I just had a question come in over the Q&A, and just a reminder to those who have dialed in, as we go through, if you have questions, just drop into the Q&A. You can chat them in as well. If you're dialing in and you don't have access to the screen share, but you can still email. You can email me, Aaron, AARON at BWGconnect.com. It's just a little bit around clarification on IP addresses versus a cookie. Just said why isn't the IP address better than a cookie? Well, cookies can be deleted or reset. And I don't know if these were in an order for a reason, but
no, they're not in order. I'm just saying I'm just trying to catalog where our information comes from, right? We get something, we know something about based on the IP address. We know something based on the cookies. They could delete the cookies, and then all of a sudden we don't have that information anymore. And that's really the point I'm trying to make here. It's that this information, first of all, is highly volatile, right? But it's also not reliable. It doesn't actually get us to the answers of the questions that we had, these three questions. And the other thing is that even if we were able to get the information that we wanted, it doesn't help us with that organic search. So what do we do?
Even with best in class and all of this and having the high quality data, we still have a whole chunk, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't cover it all. Yeah.
So some people have stumbled on an approach, and I think that's really what I want to talk about next, which is why not ask the user, like why, if we were to ask the user, why did you come to a website? So I was talking about so I worked on a children's hospital website many years ago, and as I said, depending who the user is, we want to know, we're going to deliver a different experience. So the first question, the first call to action in the homepage was, are you a patient? Are you a parent? Or are you you're a doctor? That's the first question, because after that, the experience is going to be completely different. And so asking the visitor is something that I think is a source of information that not enough companies take advantage of. Okay. And then we're talking about questionnaires, and so that's a focus, but questionnaires include a number of other types of interactions as well. We have a product selector where it's a wizard, and it takes them step by step through a number of different configurations and settings. That's a questionnaire as well. Surveys and polls. So we're trying to gather some information about our visitors, and aggregate, create pie charts and that kind of thing. That's a questionnaire as well. Assessments and quizzes are a great way to understand how much the individual knows about our products and services. Calculators, also a type of questionnaire. The numbers they actually put into the calculators, that tells us a lot about which of our products and services match this visitor profile. And so all of these sources of information, it relies on asking the visitor, asking them to to tell us something about why they're here and what they're looking for. The thing I like about questionnaires is that it's explicit information. If we think about analytics or campaign codes or DMPs, all that is implied, right? It's implied information. It's like based on statistics, based on our understanding or the model that we've created, we think this user wants this. We think this user is of you know, belongs to this segment, and so it's all implied. But questionnaires, by virtue of asking the user themselves directly, it's an explicit acknowledgement of information. So that's a huge differentiator. The other thing is that it's at the individual level, and so I think that a lot of marketers, they think about using segment information to drive unique visitor experiences as a personalization, but I don't think of it that way. I think of it more as segmentation. It's you're creating segmented experiences. In order to create truly personalized experiences, you need information at the individual level. And so that's what questionnaires provide. And the thing I like most about questionnaires is that it's voluntary. Like if a user doesn't want to do it, they don't fill out the questionnaire. They don't do it. It's choice driven, and that I think is huge. And it's consent oriented, and it's you know, I think in terms of privacy, I think it goes very far in making sure that there's no funny business going on, and us working with third parties to try to get information about the visitors. So I really like this voluntary and choice-driven aspect about questionnaires.
Yeah, so you know, really quick, because and we have another question that came in. So thanks to everybody who's sending these in. One quick commentary is, you know, it's funny because, you know, when we talk about, you know, personalization and then segmentation, and you know, there's a lot of talk about how you do it and how you get to that ultra personalized. How do you get to one-to-one? Is a constant conversation in the DMP and analytics space, right? It's just, I love this, like literally this is personalized. They filled out a questionnaire, a survey specific for them, and then you can tailor everything on the back end, and you can get to one-to-one without relying on all the implied stuff. No, it's fascinating. No, I love it. So a question that came in, and just a reminder to those that have joined almost halfway through the hour here, just having a great conversation with Inku over at PiSrc around you know, personalization around an anonymous user as a whole. But the question that comes in is, based on your experience, usually how much of what's the percentage of visitors that are willing to fill out a questionnaire?
It totally depends. And so as marketers, we're not left off the hook. We still have to make the questionnaire interesting, right? And sometimes if you can like gamify a questionnaire, you're going to get through the roof engagement. If it's going to be just very cut and dry, boring questionnaires, then you're going to get much worse engagement. And so we'll talk a little bit about that in a few slides, but it's going to vary. So I can't give you a single answer to that. But I think that people are you know, have a hunger to try to, because ultimately this questionnaire is a win-win in that, number one, as a visitor, the questionnaire is going to help me get to the information that I want in the most efficient way possible, right? I mean, ultimately, I think that if we had the beautiful, perfect search engine and they're able to type their question and get to what they wanted, that would be perfect. But how many people actually use the search bar on websites? Our experience has, you know, we're so used to the performance that we're getting from, you know, the Googles out there that when it comes to our homegrown search solution, it's usually disappointing. And so I think that questionnaires allow them to get the information that they want, and it also helps us as marketers to provide information that's relevant for each visitor.
Yeah, awesome. So a couple other great questions that have come through. Let's tackle one. What's an effective way to, and maybe you're going to get to this, you know, what's the most effective way to do a questionnaire or to speak to audiences, right? Because I think there's a lot of people concerned about, you know, there's personalization and all the gains there, but is there an impact on, you know, the flow of the on the website, you know, the UX, the UI, you know, I think, you know, it's a great question. You know, what's the most effective way, right? Is it just pop up on site? Do you have real life examples? We'd love to see some of those.
Yeah, you know, let You know what I should do? Yeah, let me escape out of my presentation here. I want to show you this website. It's brawnability.com. We worked on this website a couple of years ago and developed this questionnaire. This company, let me just tell you something brief about this company. They have a really amazing mission, and that's to bring mobility solutions to people who may be in wheelchairs or have accessibility issues. And so um, it makes every difference in the world for this company, whether or not this user is someone who is disabled, or whether it's someone who's a caretaker, or whether it's somebody who's maybe it's the press and they've came to look up some information. So one of the first call to actions in this website is this thing right here. It says, "What's right for you?" So we want to know who you are. And so when you ask the user, you know, why are you here? You know, are you looking for an accessible vehicle, a safe transfer, wheelchair securement? And you go next, and they ask you, well, are you a wheelchair user or caregiver? And the user selection and these questions are targeted throughout the website to give them the information that we think is most relevant, right? If you're a caregiver, you're interested in one set of content, and wheelchair user a different one. If you go next in the wheelchair user, it asks you, are you going to be a driver, passenger, or both? If you go back and you select a caregiver, a different set of questions are relevant. In this case, are you a caregiver for an adult or child? And so you see, this is I just wanted to show you this example, but yeah, this is how simple and how engaging questionnaires can be. So that's an example. Let me go back to our slide here. Go here. So we're talking about questionnaires. Continuing with this, I just want to say that I talked a lot about questionnaires and contrasting it with what I think about as traditional ways of personalization or segmentation. And the thing is, they don't have to compete. You know, they work in tandem. They can supplement the information. And overall, if you combine those two approaches, you can really create a better, clearer picture of who the visitor is. And so it's, you know, I do want to emphasize that we're talking about something, multiple approaches, and this is just one approach I think is not used enough. So I want, you know, before we run out of time, I want to talk something a bit about best practices. So
Awesome. Yeah, this might actually answer a bunch of questions that are coming in as well. So I love it. Yeah.
Go ahead. If you look up, you know, the science of asking questions, if you even Google like survey best practices in question design, you'll see over and over this theme, which is that attention is a limited commodity for visitors. Right? It's kind of obvious. Like a visitor comes to a website, you start them on a questionnaire, and you know, you have a certain amount of attention to work with. And one of the facets of attention is duration. You know, how long is the questionnaire going to take, and how many questions can you ask? I started. I'm part of this. My company is part of this partner network, and there was this. What is it? This partner survey that I was asked to fill out, and I started to fill out the survey, and around question 8 or 9, I started to wonder, well, how many more questions were there? How much longer is this going to take? And I kind of felt like I was in questionnaire purgatory. And so it, you know, you have to be very mindful about how many questions you're asking and how long it's going to take. And the other aspect of questionnaire is the complexity. Now, how complex are the choices that you're making? If the user is agonizing about which option best matches my profile or what I'm looking for or what I'm interested in, the question was not designed properly, or you know, it should be broken up, or you know, so you want to try to create questionnaires that aren't too complex. And how you know whether questionnaires are successful or not is we want to look at key performance indicators. Number one, how many of your users actually engage with the questionnaire? right? So this is what I meant earlier when I said gamifying the questionnaire is big. There's this game. It's called Accumator, I think it was. But basically, it asks you to think about an animal, and it asks some questions, and ultimately, it can guess what you're thinking after I don't know 15 to 20 questions. And so that kind of gamification, I think, is going to really increase engagement. If certain questions create abandonment, um, that's something to look at. Right? A questionnaire is a live A/B test, really. If some questionnaires are being creating abandonment, then we have to look at the questions themselves and see whether or not they can be tuned. And so, to answer your question, it's going to be an iterative process. There's no magic bullet here. I think to create the best questionnaires, we have to have some understanding of our customers, and try to create questions that are engaging and relevant. If you ask questions that are relevant, then the abandonment goes down, right?
Yeah.
Um,
And
yep.
so a couple questions coming in, just I think around abandonment in a way. So it says, what completion rate do you see on your surveys and questionnaires? And so I'll add a little bit of color to that as well, which would be, what is the KPI that you're looking for? So because I think a lot of the questionnaires dependent on the person, like you were saying, how complex is it, right? How long does it take? But what is a KPI that you're shooting for? Is it, because if you go to 100% with 2 questions, you don't get as much personalization data. If you go to 150 questions, you get lots of personalized data.
Yeah.
Nobody ever completes it. What is that KPI that you're shooting for
Mhm.
a completion rate that hey, I'm getting most of the people that are really interested, and I can personalize this as much as possible. And then it just a follow-up question on return visits as well. But we'd love to hear what you guys kind of look at from the KPI space on abandonment and completion rate, however we want to put it.
Yeah. So, like I said, the abandonment rate, you want to tune that so that 80% of the people who are starting the questionnaire completed.
Awesome.
That number is going to depend on, especially on what vertical that you're in. But that's the number I try to reach for. And as far as engagement, I think if you can somehow get, I don't know, up to 30% of people engaging, your visitors engaging, that's huge. And that's what I meant by this is just one prong of personalization, right? We have these other methods of segmentation and all that, but we want to supplement that because we need all the help we can get to understand who the visitor is. And so again, I think it's going to depend on what vertical, because some verticals have something like a B2B, right? A B2B organization, you want like 60% engagement. You want much higher. If you're talking about something like retail, it's going to be a lot harder to get those visitors to fill out the questionnaire. And so, yeah, we're shooting for something more like 30%. And so it's gonna vary.
Yeah, I mean, the cool thing too is, it's something you can A/B test in real time. So you set out, you don't hit your KPIs originally. Not enough people are engaging. Well, okay, we'll alter where it's at and when it pops up and how you present it. The flip side is you get a lot of people engaging, but they're not completing. Then, hey, we just do a look at, complexity or duration, or, on the backside, and then fine tune it over time. No, awesome. So, I mean, those are great. So 80% and 30%.
Yeah. So the thing that I wanted to bring up about questionnaires was that questionnaires are more than forms. So there's so I went on the web and I looked up some questionnaires that are out there, and there was this one that private bank that asks of potential clients to fill out a form, and the premise is really simple, right? They want to know, well, what's your risk appetite, right? Everyone has a sense that in investments, the more risk you take, the more reward, right? The lower the risk, the lower the reward. It's kind of something I think most people understand. And so, great. So I'll fill out this form. But if you if you start to fill out the form, I'm trying to get the Zoom window out of here. Okay. If you fill out the form, what you find is that it's pretty darn long. In fact, there are 24 questions. And if you look at the questions, it's not simple. Like this question, this is what they're asking the regular clients. Okay, so what is your knowledge, understanding of financial markets, asset classes, products, and subcategories, as well as their inherent return profiles and risks? And do you have 5 or more trades within the last years? Either and they're talking about vanilla structured products, non-vanilla structured products, and equity structured products, complex structured products, as if the non-vanilla structured products weren't complex already. So it's so basically it's highly complex. 24 questions, highly complex, and they're kind of repetitive, right? If you're not going to know about vanilla structured products, why are you asking about non-vanilla structured products or complex structured products? I think that it's just kind of, that's the thing about forms that I don't like, that they're very static and they're uniform, right? You ask the same questions no matter what people pick. And so that's one thing that I think we're trying to fix with questionnaires. The worst thing is that if you get to the end of this questionnaire, they give you a scoring rubric, right? And they say, oh, it turns out they only care about these 3 questions, right? If you answered, A on this question, B on this question, or F on this question, you're a profile of 2 or a profile of 1. And so you're telling me that I answered these 24 questions, spent 12 to 15 minutes on this questionnaire, and you only actually needed to know these 3 elements. And so, I think that this is an example of an unnecessarily long, lengthy, and complex form. So, what is a better way? So, website questionnaires are more than forms. So, I want to talk about that a bit. So, the thing is that forms, I said, are uniform, and in general, forms, traditional forms, anyways, they're designed around the question asker. Whoever's asking the question, they want to know something about this user, so they're asking questions. But if we pivot and think about forms from the perspective of the customer, about delivering experience, then you have to ask a different set of questions. You have to adapt based on what that individual is choosing. And so what we really have are adaptive split question trees. So ultimately, the experiences are not the same. They're unique to what the individual has chosen previously. And so, and on the broadenability site before, that's what happened. Depending on who you are, what you chose, a different set of questions opens up. And some of these questions may fold back into another tree or another, but you see the point I'm trying to make is that, you know so much about the user based on the questions that they pick if the questionnaire is adaptive. The other thing about online questionnaires is that you can have a progress bar. Thank you. Now I'm no longer in questionnaire purgatory, and I know how much is left. That is huge, right? You can even start out with the questionnaire saying it's going to take about 5 minutes, or it's going to take 2 minutes of your time. But if you have a progress bar, you're going to see your engagement and completion levels just boost. People want to finish things that they start. It's a simple human need, and so progress bar is huge. You can also allow them to save progress or continue on their mobile phone if they're on a desktop, or vice versa. You can share with other people the results, or you can print it. You can even click back and start over. So all of these aspects of questionnaires on websites make it really a better experience than forms. And the other thing about questionnaires that I want to talk about was that the dynamic adaptation aspect of questionnaires make it so that we can get more than just information. It's more than just about who you are, but it's also about what kind of engagement approach works best with you. Some people are very analytical and they like charts. Some people are social and they prefer the infographic or maybe the case study. And so that's very relevant, right? If you're trying to create a new relationship with a prospect, to know whether they're one or the other is going to be huge. Maybe someone is very structured and methodical, and they want to go things in a very organized fashion, or maybe they like to brainstorm and and throw things out there. I think that if we had a engagement, if we had a question on a website, and you're trying to match the prospect with a compatible like representative, and you ask them some simple questions like this, I think it would go huge to making the conversion have a better outcome. There's also a whole field of science around social style, how people like to be asked. Are they people oriented or task oriented? Are they more spontaneous or cautious? These have very little to do with our products and our services, but they have everything to do with how we create relationships with people, because ultimately that's who we're trying to convince and interact with. So there's a whole science around this, and I think that integrating some of those questions with questionnaires is on the table.
And really quick, just a quick question that came in, I think, and I'm thinking around that little save button that you had there, and I agree with you on the progress bar. When you think about saving it in a questionnaire as a whole, are you customizing it for that specific visit? And are you recognizing, that person for a return visit as well?
Well, it's going to be based on consent, right? If they consent to storing that information on cookie, then yes, when they come back, you can continue. But like on the brownability.com website, that information is not in the cookie. It's actually preserved in the URL string, right? And so you can email that to yourself and continue on your phone if you want, but there's no footprint as to this particular user.
Got it.
And so it depends, it depends on your industry, it depends on what the kind of information you're trying to get. And so it's, it's going to be, I think that, we're not off the hook as marketers to make sure that we respect people's boundaries and make sure that we have consent. But I think that, given that, we can create sticky experiences so that subsequent conversions are more frictionless. And I think that there's a lot of possibility out there, but we have to be careful. Yeah.
Awesome.
So information, insight, connection. This is what we're trying to get with these questionnaires. The kind of insight really depends on the industry, right? So let's talk about FSI. So it's all about trust, right? We're trying as advisors, and we're trying to basically say that we're going to do our due diligence to make sure that that the best investment options are presented, and that we take care of their money, right? I think that when we're designing questionnaires, we really evaluate as to whether it's important that when we try to initiate this relationship, is it so important that we know that this individual understands vanilla structured products? Or is it more important that we know that this individual values ESG, right? Environmental and social governance issues, climate change, social impact. Maybe both, I don't know. But I think that questionnaires allow us to really, as we design questionnaires, we need to really tilt questions to the items that promote the outcome that we're really interested in. In FSI, it is the relationship. It's a race to relationship, and it's to convey trust. In something like automobile industry, it's all about getting the visitor to pick a color and trim and sign up for a test drive, right? That's what we're trying to do. But I mean, would it be valuable if, from the marketing side and engagement side, if we knew that this individual, completed a configurator, and then they picked the Obsidian Black S-Class Coupe variation of this vehicle? Maybe. What about, if through a questionnaire we can somehow understand that fuel efficiency and safety is more important to this particular visitor? So this is information I think is relevant, and the insight really depends on what we're talking about. In the retail, travel, and food industry, it's a lot about transaction, but more and more I think we're realizing that brand loyalty and advocacy is key. So and part of that industry is about making recommendations to users about products that are interested, that they might be interested in. And so would it be valuable to us if we can use a questionnaire to gauge the personality profile of one user, compare them with like users, like customers, and recommend the popular products. I worked for a online grocer in the past, and this is a extremely effective way to make the recommendations effective. So goal is insight, but insight is also data. And so with consent, questionnaire data is first-party data, right? Think about that. It's not third-party data. It's your data. It's voluntary data that the visitor has provided you to give a better experience. This information could potentially be used to like pre-populate lead profiles. The other thing is that the dynamic questionnaire traversal. Do you remember that diagram I showed a couple of slides ago with the question trees? Those traversals form a digital imprint of each user, right? And so we digitize these imprints. Over time, correlation of these imprints with conversions and sales analytics can be used for lead and propensity scoring. And so if we think about users coming down one question tree and leading to a conversion, or another one and not leading to a conversion or a sale, and over time, what we find out is that we can calculate the conditional probability of a certain outcome based on questions that people have answered. This whole data science aspect to this, I think, is overlooked. There's also statistical regressions we can do, and machine learning and AI analysis the data that comes out of this is ripe for that kind of analysis. So getting to the questions themselves. I mean, earlier we had a question about, how do you ask these questions? Well, mathematically, the most efficient method is to ask questions that evenly divide the segments by the number of choices. So if we're talking about categories, we want to make sure that the questions partition users into those categories evenly, or products or segments. And so there used to be this question, this game show a long time ago. This is before my time, but this is a screenshot that I found. But the premise was that you ask, one person has something they're thinking about, and another person asks 20 questions. 20 questions is a lot of information, and if you break down this mathematical goal, and you're able to ask 20 questions evenly, you can get up to 1 million different partitions. 1 million. So that means that with 20 questions, if I had 1 million products, with 20 questions, I could figure out exactly which of those 1 million products are relevant to this given user. If I had 1,000 products, I only need 10 questions with 2 choices. Remember I talked earlier about complexity. Every time you add a choice to a question, that adds the complexity. But what you get in return is that now I only have to ask 7 questions or 5 questions to get to those 1,000 products if I had 4 choices. And so that's where the balance and art and science and A/B testing and all that comes in for us to optimize these experiences. Just checking our time quickly here. It's first-party insight data, and we can use that information to make product recommendations. We can provide client-customer engagement guidance. So we talked about the engagement and social style and all that, and lead scoring as well. So why are questionnaires hard? Why don't more people do this? And the fact is that it's expensive and it takes a lot of time. That's the truth. So it requires custom programming and it's time intensive. So it's as simple as that. The other thing is that they tend to be fixed after launch. After you go live, you kind of hands off, right? Let it run. You can't A/B test. And finally, they're not integrated with the website experience. And so a questionnaire that doesn't affect website experience is not fulfilling the promise that it made with the visitor when they first started to fill out that form, right? The implication when you present a questionnaire is you fill out this questionnaire will make your experience better. I think that's the basic promise. And if you don't do that, you can't do that actually. If if it's not integrated with the website. And so this is how I want to make it better. And the first thing is that we need it to be integrated with the content management system. And so I want to talk about Adobe's Experience Manager, which is, I think it's an amazing content management system, but also it has a really flexible plug-in modular architecture so that you can add things like questionnaires in a very integrated fashion. We also want to make it better by making the building of questionnaires simple, right? You know, who loves drag and drop interfaces? It's simple as simple as it gets, right? So we want a drag and drop interface, and we want to be able to ultimately pair the outcome of those questionnaires with unique products, content, and services. So that's what we want to do. And so what you know, we're almost at the end of the hour here, and so I want to invite everyone to part 2 of this talk. This is a 2-part talk. And what we are going to do in part 2 is talk about Adobe Experience Manager and how we use a questionnaire builder, a plugin within AEM to create drag and drop experiences so that the author can, any author without a programmer can create these workflows. I mean, sorry, not workflows, these questionnaires dynamically, and lead to unique experiences. So that's part 2. That's next week in part 2. We're also going to talk a little bit more about questionnaire science, binary trees, general trees, and root networks, and also talk about how to integrate questionnaires with analytics, and also lead creation with Marketo as an example. And so if we can add this part 2 link to the chat window, I'd appreciate that. And this, if you want to know more about Footprint, this is the PiSrc website. And that's pretty much it. Please feel free to email me if you have any questions.
Yeah, awesome. And we can drop that link into a follow-up email that we'll send out to everybody as well. We'd encourage everybody to show up for part 2 of that. It'll be a really interesting deep dive and walkthrough as a whole. I do want to say a quick thank you to everybody who dialed in today. Thanks for sending in the questions. I think it was literally timed perfect. We said, 3 to 4 minutes, we get out of here before the end of the hour. Inku, thanks for your time today. Thanks for allowing us to pick your brain, put you on the hot seat, and then, being so open to sharing information, and really, really valuable to the people on the phone today. And you guys are a great resource for people in the network as a whole. So thanks again. Thanks to everybody who was able to join. You look for a follow-up email from us. We'll be in touch. We'll include that link to register for the part 2 of this session. Hope everybody has a fantastic Thursday. Everybody stay safe, take care, and look forward to having you on a future event. All right, everybody. Thanks so much. Take care now. All righty. Bye-bye.